Hello, everyone. We are
Hello.
the Team 7, and we will talk about waste to energy conversion in Malaysia and Gamma Cat. And we have the first part and the first interview with Emilio.
Yes. So, the company introduction. Uwe a German who is revolutionizing garbage treatment in Mexico. It does through a transformation, clean or renewable energy. So for 10 years together with his partner Oliver Hoffman, they create an alternative to reuse garbage and to reduce the environmental impact. It is GammaCat, a company that uses up to 96% of the waste generate daily to produce energy such as electricity, diesel, gas, steam and heat. His company designs, builds and equips treatment plants with Mexican and German technology for companies in the industrial sector that have garbage concessions and municipalities to turn their waste into their own source of energy. GammaCat Logistics is a company who exhibits technology, machinery and facilities for the treatment and use of municipal waste and industrial. A company with a marked innovative profile, generator of creativity, and dynamism in continuous growth and with a strong presence in the national and international markets. Since 2009, is dedicated to permanent search for a specific and personalized solution for each project and of each client. This company with a clear criteria of continuous improvement in its process and commits to the development and training of his staff. However, in a world of rapid globalization, the audience is not an instrument of convenience, but an essential instrument to serve customers. Today, the needs and preferences of customers around the world are converging. The harshest scenario that we have in front of us is a land and water contaminated by ourselves. There are problems even without the solutions. Fortunately, there are even minority people desperately looking for a solutions. Options like recycle, it works, but it's not a solution.
About the ecological intervention in Latin America and many countries in the world, there is no efficient recycling system, and therefore more than 90% of the garbage ends up in landfills or in the most cases in open air without any protection for the environment. Every ton of waste generates like 1.5 tons of CO2, contributing to climate change. In Mexico, 130 million kilos of garbage are thrown away every day, enough to fill 365 football stadiums each year. At GADMAC, they transform the waste into quality synthetic diesel. That is, they end up polluting the environment without further exploiting natural resources. The Gamma Cat production model, part of a modular process to which as many as necessary can be added, garbage, greater number of modules. This radical transformation begins by removing mineral and metal elements from the garbage by means of a turbine to take it to biodigesters covered with geomembranes. There thawed heat, they are converted into fuel and electrical energy. 22 tons of garbage are transformed into 11,000 liters of high quality synthetic diesel, superior to that obtained from oil and significantly cheaper, suitable for freight and public service transport. Apart from drastically reducing the negative impact of garbage on the environment, Gamma Cat also tries to fulfill a humanitarian purpose, and it is that it wants to offer fair job opportunity to the marginalized population that collects garbage from landfills to earn a living unworldly conditions. The Mexican company also commits to investing a portion of its earnings in projects that benefit these communities.
Well, here we have the waste disposal by recycling garbage. A plant for industrial use processes more than a half of ton of garbage a day, while a municipality has a minimum processing capacity of 50 tons. When installing a Gamma Cat plant, a customer can save up to 14,000 energy costs. The process they use to produce energy is standardized and begins with the recycling of the waste to extract those materials that are not suitable, such as metal and minerals. Then, depending on the energy to be generated, different steps are followed. The serious problem that garbage represents in the country, a day, 86,000 of tons of waste are generated that 87% end up exposed to the open air, causing health and environmental effects. A ton of garbage generates 1.8 tons of CO2, one of the main causes of global warming, and the worst thing is that garbage recycling in Mexico does not exceed 4%. More than 20 million pesos were generated in sales, processing 3,500 tons of garbage that avoid emissions of 560,000 tons of CO2.
And in the implementation, the founders of Gamma Cat present the project to Group CIP, a Mexican company for the integral management of urban solid waste and energy generation, for which they built a plant in Puebla called Kinetic Power Plant. It can produce 150 kilowatt hours a day, enough to power 10 medium-sized houses, offices or rural communities without having to install electrical infrastructure. The plant consists of a water tank equipped with a continuous rotation mechanism where steel cylinders allow the exchange of air for water. It makes advantage in the continuous generation of electricity on a continuous basis, unlike solar cells of wind mills. The use of fuel is not necessary, and neither it is necessary for a personnel to operate the system. Its installation costs little more than 3,000 pesos, and the surface of 2 meters is enough to do it. 400 units have been sold in Switzerland. From the moment on, the startup became energized and began to attract more clients. One more plant was installed in Baja California and another in the state of Mexico. The next step for the company is to grow and scale, but they must remain attentive to what the market demands. Gamma Cat plans to strengthen its model in the coming months with its own plan and enter new markets internationally. It already has a project on the doorstep in El Salvador and Panama.
Well, here we have the pros and the cons of the project. The pros are volume reduction, reduction of emissions, use of raw materials, transforming up to 90% of garbage into renewable energy, total elimination of environmental risk, generation of jobs, direct and indirect, very high political, social and environmental image, encourage growth in the region, socially and environmentally responsible region, sources of decent and socially responsible work, avoid fine for mishandling and poor condition of the dumpster, disappearance of landfills, and in the other hand the cons are recycling in Mexico is very small, invest cost was very high, and technology produced pollutions but in less proportion.
Um, we have that one of the uses of ecological projects with great potential in Mexico is the use of urban solid state with a double objective, which solves the growing problem of what to do with garbage and at the same time contributes to meeting the country's requirements in the matter of climate change. The growing problem of garbage collection and management in large Mexican cities, Mexico challenge and commitment against climate change together with the energy reform, simulates the generation of electricity from cleaner energy sources. By establishment, the immediate deductibility of investment offer an interesting panorama for the development of renewable energies and specifically of technologies for the use of waste, which are still very unknown.
Yeah, and it is important that the private sector begins to look for how to help the environment firm in its field of work, since they are the ones that most damage the environment. The unfortunate thing is that there are very few companies in Latin America that are looking for used garbage to generate energy. That is something in which a change should be shown in the shortest possible time. Otherwise, we'll be left behind in the change towards a sustainable world.
So that is all about Gamma Cat from Mexico.
You don't think?
Okay, so thank you. And for Malaysia, they're using incineration process for reducing waste volume while transforming waste into energy. Incineration is a high temperature dry oxidation process that reduces organic and combustible waste to inorganic, incombustible matter, and results in a very significant reduction of waste volume and weight. This process is usually selected to treat waste that cannot be recycled, reused, or disposed of in a landfill site. The composition of organic compounds gaseous emissions, including steam, carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and certain toxic substances, and particulate matter plus solid residues in the form of ashes. If the conditions of combustion are not properly controlled, toxic carbon monoxide will also be produced. The ash and wastewater produced by the process also contain toxic compounds, which have to be treated to avoid adverse effects on health and the environment. So Malaysia, a country of Southeast Asia, has an estimated population of 1.79 million. So as the population increases, their environmental and energy issues continue to arise from the municipal solid waste, which called MSW, generation and economic development. Municipal waste in Malaysia is disposed of mainly by open disposal, causing significant environmental issues such as emissions of fuel odor and methane from disposal sites and groundwater pollution by leachate from landfill. As an emerging developing country, Malaysia is currently facing the MSW management dilemma of increasing GHGs, especially methane gas, resulting from the degradation of organic waste in landfills and the need for more energy, electricity, and material consumption to sustain the increasing population of Malaysia. They are still largely dependent on fossil fuel-based resources for electricity generation, namely diesel, COIL, and natural gas. So therefore, an immediate need to address numerous concerns and dilemmas for more efficient management of waste, reducing per capita CO2 emissions, and generating renewable energy in Malaysia.
Next slide.
Next slide, please.
So the benefits of using incinerators is that research has shown that solid waste incinerators are less likely to pollute the environment than landfills do. Landfills usually release higher quantities of greenhouse gases, nitrogen oxides, dioxin, hydrocarbons, and non-methane organic compounds, as well as generate leachate. Leachate is the hazardous water coming out of all the waste accumulated which poisons the underground water systems. Another benefit of using incineration is that it makes waste management easier and more efficient because incineration can burn up to 90% of the total waste generated and sometimes even more. As a comparison, landfills only allow organic decomposition, so non-organic waste keeps accumulating. Incineration plants generate energy from waste, which is called waste to energy. This energy can be used to generate electricity or heat, and it can be used to power the needs of people living in the surroundings of the plant. Next slide. Next slide. In Malaysia, the use of incineration such as WTE is only present on a small scale in very limited amounts. By incineration, a total of 80% to 95% of municipal solid waste volume can be reduced. In 2011, the Ministry of Local Government and Housing Malaysia started multiple incineration projects with an investment of 187 and 74 million Malaysian ringgit to handle municipal solid waste. This included 5 units of small-scale incinerators of rotary kiln type that were placed in 5 tourism spots, which are the Palau Langkawi that generates 100 tons of waste per day, Palau Labuan 60 tons of waste per day, Cameron Highlands 40 tons of waste per day, Palau Pangkor 20 tons of waste per day, and Palau Tioman 10 tons of waste per day. The incineration plant in Langkawi is the most extensive plant and was Malaysia's first waste incineration plant to use the WTE technology model with a cost of 68 million Malaysian ringgit. Next.
So, the local authority of Langkawi Town Council monitored the activity of the 2 mini incinerators. The incinerator plant in Langkawi is the first incinerator plant in Malaysia to conduct solid waste segregation at the site before the waste steam was fed into the incinerator. Waste which is not suitable for the incineration process was later dumped into a nearby landfill due to high moisture content, such as food waste and other wet waste. The efficiency of Langkawi's plant is estimated to be around 80% to 90%. The incinerator disposes approximately 100 tons of waste per day and runs on power generated from the WTE technology. The waste heat generated from the incineration process is converted to 1 MW of electricity. The main features of the plant included waste separation systems, rotary kilns, waste heat recovery boilers, air pollution control systems, and a fully condensing steam turbine generator.
For the advantages of using the incineration plant in Malaysia is internationally in offsetting the world's carbon emission by generating electricity from waste. It pushed towards a greater share of RE in the national electricity generation mix. It can reduce total waste volume entering landfills, increasing the lifespan of existing landfills. WTE plants power treatment plants to provide people adequate access to clean drinking water and sanitation. Initiative of moving from a linear to circular urban metabolism to minimize waste and pollution output to the environment. Lastly, it helps to prevent and reduce the generation of hazardous leachate containing persistent carcinogenic compounds and other pathogens from complex mixed waste within the landfill.
Okay, next. So for cones, first one, bringing tremendous negative implications to the economy, environment, and towards the health of the people. Second, non-organic waste which has lower moisture content is suitable for thermal treatment, while municipal solid waste containing high organic waste which contributes towards higher moisture content in the overall MSW is not suitable for thermal treatment. Third, most landfills are small in capacity and most landfills are small in capacity. And fourth, imbalance of existing energy production to the energy demand due to increasing Malaysian population. Fifth, opposition from non-governmental organizations and public against the health issues relating to the operation of incineration plants, unsuitability of available technology for incineration of local MSW, high capital expenditure, and strict emissions standards compared to other combustion equipment. Additional difficulties encountered by present incinerator operators were failure to comply to environmental impact assessment standards, insufficient local expertise, incompetent local operators, and higher costs for incinerator maintenance and parts. And lastly, the byproducts from the incineration process, namely fly ash, bottom ash, and other residues from the incinerator's air pollution control, which called APC, system in the form of sludge and slags from wet scrubber treatment process, pose an existential threat to public health via the carriage of toxic pollutants containing heavy metals such as lead, mercury, cadmium, along with other pollutants. Next.
For the recommendations, enhancing national MSW to energy practices is a sustainable source for electricity generation. National MSW to energy practices return value to waste while minimizing anthropogenic waste and contaminants entering the natural environment. Second, the use of alternative approaches such as gasification and pyrolysis rather than mass burn or incineration to treat either mixed waste or inorganic waste. Pyrolysis and gasification process generate several useful secondary fuels and at the same time heat and energy, which can be turned into electricity by reacting organic materials fractions from the MSW at high temperature. Both processes treat MSW without direct combustion with precisely controlling the amount of oxygen and steam entering into the system. Syngas is reduced at first in both processes where pollutants are removed before it is combusted, hence resulting in a cleaner emission level. Energy recovery from MSW via gasification and pyrolysis produces cleaner emissions compared to incineration and does not possess any threat to public health. Though the initial construction cost for gasification is higher compared to incineration, however, gasification in terms of converting waste to energy is 30% more efficient than incineration.
Next. So for conclusion, there is an urgent need to build and introduce MSW to energy plants in Malaysia because of the growing rise in municipal solid waste generation and carbon dioxide emissions and electricity consumption. So by effectively reducing waste volume while transforming waste into energy, MSW to energy plants can solve both environmental and energy problems. WTE Technologies seeks to minimize the amount of waste entering landfills while producing waste energy at the same time. In general, while there are several types of WTE technologies on the market, it is possible to classify the key WTE routes into biochemical and thermochemical methods of treatment. But in Malaysia, the two most commonly used WTE technologies to handle MSW and to recover energy in the form of electricity and heat or landfill gas, LFG, as a biochemical pathway and incineration as a thermochemical pathway. In addition, anaerobic digestion, AD, is the best WTE technology to deal with wet MSW, which produces higher amounts of organic waste, food waste, as AD can completely exploit the feedback by efficiently converting organic waste into both biogas that can later be transformed into electricity and both fertilizer. Thus, as opposite to incineration, that creates subsequent harmful ashes. AD leaves virtually no secondary byproduct that is hazardous and permanent to the environment. Therefore, as a developing country with a version of first world country and dedicated to contributing to climate change and achieving the UN SDGs, Malaysia needs to embark on a circular metabolism of cities where MSW2 energy is commonly used. So as a sustainable source for electricity generation, national MSW2 energy practices return value to waste while minimizing um, anthropogenic waste and contaminants entering the natural environment. Through the implementation and realization of MSW2 energy nationwide, socio-economic development in Malaysia can be more environmentally sound and efficient, allowing Malaysia to achieve sustainable development.
So that was our activity 5.
Yeah.
So have a nice day.
So any question?
Well, we don't have questions, but we have not like a conclusion, but here in Mexico, we don't have a projects like in Malaysia or like the Oriental countries. So we need to learn about your projects in your government or in your country, because we are losing the environment here and we are doing like nothing.
That they should.
What about you? You have some question for Gamma Cat?
No, I don't have also.
Yeah.
We don't have. Yeah. Very good presentation.
I think that's all for our presentation. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you for participation.
Okay.